Okay.
Hey, this is Bo. We're back in the lounge. We've got Tara Larosa on the line. How you doing, Tara?
Great. How are you?
We're doing well. We haven't talked to you for about a good year. A lot has taken place, and a lot has not taken place.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah. Now, you said we just were talking about you being on air doing a Law and Order bid. How was it to work in that situation, a TV set?
Oh, lots of fun. I did it about a year and a half ago. It was pretty cool. I was just a stunt person, really, and I didn't appear on camera, bummer, but it was still fun. It was a really good experience. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I bet you have a lot of those actors who we know from dealing with actors is that they're not like they are in the movies. They're totally opposite generally. Was it kind of cool to rub elbows with those guys?
I didn't actually get to see any of them. Like, I saw, like, some of the, just, like, the, like, people that were there for just that episode. You know, how they'll have, like, a storyline, and it's, like, those people, but they're not reoccurring characters.
Absolutely. It's sort of like in the movie Galaxy Quest when the dude walks up and goes, I was in season so-and-so. I was the guy that died before the commercial.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't even make it to that, so.
That's, it's still a cool thing, man, is that the whole world is that because of what you do, we've seen that on YouTube and MySpace and a bunch of other places, you're getting a little more visibility in your hometown. It's nice to see that you're being interviewed by a lot of news anchors and TV reporters. It's got to be kind of cool for you to have those cameras on you in a octagon ring where they're actually coming up and talking with you and shaking hands.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't mind being in front of the camera at all. It doesn't really bother me. Sometimes I get a little tongue-tied when they ask me the tough questions, like, oh, what's going on with this project or that project? And I, like, have no idea. I'm like, oh, shit.
Well, we get tongue-tied a lot. We get caller listeners that come up and ask questions, and sometimes I'll take a phone call from a number that I do not recognize. Luckily enough, I'm not on air or recording anything, but I get outed a lot of times where I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that. There's so much going on in sports, in mixed martial arts that I don't know, and I tend to turn it over to the guest that comes on because it's almost impossible for me to understand everything about the sport, because if I understood it, I guess I'd be running the show.
Well, it gets more and more vast every day with new promotions opening and old promotions closing, guys coming into the sport and coming up the ranks, and then guys dropping off and retiring, and just it's becoming massive. I mean, it's really become global.
Yeah,
actually.
It actually is. I mean, Roxanne is getting coverage. She's doing her job out there in Japan. She's dying to come over to the States and mix it up.
Girl, I love Roxy.
She is really, you know what? I really like her. She's got something about her. I like her fighting style. I just wish right now is that it seems like it's in a lull of women professional fighters right now. I know there's fights going on, but they're not scheduling the really, really top-end fighters, and I'm not sure what's going on. Is it because there's something developing behind the scenes, or is it just in a holding pattern right now?
Everybody seems to be really focusing on the up-and-comers, and the girls are just starting out, really. I don't know if it's because there's a lot more amateur shows that are actually coming into focus, or if they just don't want to put the money out for the bigger fights or book the veterans. I don't know what the story is, but seems to be like everybody is gravitating toward the up-and-coming girls, which is cool. I mean, everybody needs a chance, and that's great and everything. But some of us vets are kind of out of work,
Well, I think what's going on right now is just they're trying to do a feeler. Let me back up a little bit. I thought the Elite XC was awesome. I believe the fights that they showcased were more watched. I know everybody's got their feelings for poor Gina, but the fact is that people were trying to find out more about women's fighters before the implosion of the XC. And then the economy took a tanker, and even now, there's strugglings in all sports because of the economy, and I think that might be more of it. I know you don't want to hear it because the guys are still fighting, but I think, once, this merges out, I think we're going to see a lot more of you top fighters fighting, but I just can't imagine you all not being scheduled for top matches coming soon.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope things continue to grow and get better. It seems like the economy's starting to turn around a little bit, but how soon that'll start to affect the MMA community, I don't know. Hopefully before I freaking retire.
Well,
but I don't know. I got a couple of things in the works.
Well,
and I'm always trying to help out, the other chicks that are in the sport, the veterans, actually, like chicks that came up with me.
yeah.
We're all pretty close-knit. We're pretty tight, so we all look out for each other.
The thing that a lot of us gravitate towards is sometimes the hype behind the fights, and the reality is that most of these fighters that come together, whether they're guys or gals, they're kind of close together. They realize that it's a sport, an event that involves hitting, knocking down, and yes, there's blood, but I think when you get past that and you really understand the fighter's mentality, you think of fight, you think of a barroom brawl, and that's not exactly what you all do. It's not exactly what people do in boxing. There's a science to it. There's a specific art form to it. And, right now, I think a lot of people are starting to figure out what it's all about. And I think mixed martial arts I like the best because there's not that hype. There's really a fight. Despite what Brock did at the end of the Frank Mir fight, I think Brock wants to be the bad guy in that role because of the WWE, and he wasn't exactly a gracious wrestler either. But I think there's a lot of hype that sometimes goes on that people don't really realize that you guys are really close.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I remember a couple years ago there was like this big rivalry or feud with Phil Baroni and Matt Lindland. They were hanging out at the show that I was fighting on and everything. We're all just sitting around chilling and bullshitting back and forth. Most of us, I mean, for the most part, it's all hype, and most of us are friends. I mean, I'm friends with Gina. I'm friends with just about everybody. Yeah, there's a couple of them not, but it's cool. It's just, I don't know. With Brock Lesnar, I'm not sure what his angle is. I've heard that he's a really nice guy. Like, he's kind of private, like, to himself, but he's really a good guy, from what I understand. Actually, Caitlin Young trains up there at that school that he's currently at and everything, and she says he's way cool. He seems like a nice dude.
Well, there's a couple. I know people in the
States. Maybe he doesn't know exactly how to play the whole thing because he did come from WWE, so that's kind of what he knows. So
yeah.
I think maybe he's still trying to find that happy balance of a little bit of hype, but not overdo it.
Well, I think for a lot of fans in the UFC, if I understand what I'm reading, because I've talked to other athletes, Brock has got a certain group of people that hate him in the UFC. They hate his personality. They hate everything about him. They think he's fake. And I know that when he beat Frank Mir, there was a lot of people that thought he couldn't hang. I went on a limb years ago when he lost to Frank. I said Frank did the smartest thing because Brock was going to kill him in that fight. Brock made a simple mistake standing up, and Frank took care of it. And from that fight, a lot of people said he's not good. If you ever watch any of his college wrestling, Brock was the real deal. He is not a joke when it comes down to it. His speed factor, and the simple mistake he did against Frank in that first one, I think when he finally pummeled him, got rid of a lot of ghosts for himself personally. But I think a lot of UFC guys, when I say that, I mean the fans, don't appreciate the fact that he's the real deal. He may be an up-and-comer, but he's real, all to the bone.
And is pretty huge, and he does have to cut weight to get down to, I guess, 265 it is?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
in and of itself requires some kind of brains about the sport and some kind of plan, and you have to at least be, more than just a big dumb oaf.
Yeah, that's true.
I really don't think people give him enough credit, really.
I agree with that.
He's a developing fighter. He just happens to be developing in the spotlight, a lot like Gina did.
Yeah.
She came into Elite at, what was her record, like 4-0? Well, that's kind of a beginner. She was still developing her style. Yeah, she came from Muay Thai and everything, but she was still developing. And it just happened that we had to watch her develop on the big stage. I think it's the same with Brock, and I think he's going to turn out to be a pretty good fighter,
Well, so far he looks good because when I was off air talking to a bunch of fighters, I said if he can keep it on the ground and just pummel Frank's not strong enough. I mean, I like Frank. Frank's a class act guy. He proved it after the fight, where Brock didn't exactly.